Our keynote speaker for this evening, Mr. Garo Ghazarian, is a powerful voice in our community as he advocates loudly and effectively for our cause. Mr. Ghazarian is the co-chair of the Armenian Genocide Centennial Committee of the Western USA. He is the chairman ex officio of the Armenian Bar Association, serving on the executive committee of its board of governors. Mr. Ghazarian is a city commissioner, serving a second consecutive term as the chairman of the City of Glendale's Civil Service Commission, which oversees matters related to the city's 1,500 employees. He is a law professor and the dean of the People's College of Law in Los Angeles. He is the proprietor and chief litigator of an Encino law firm, devoted exclusively to criminal defense in California and in federal courts nationwide. Mr. Ghazarian is an active member of many organizations, including the National Association on Criminal Defense Lawyers and the Armenian Center for National and International Studies. He is a board member of the Mexican American Bar Association Political Action Committee, serving on its Judicial Evaluations Committee. He has appeared as a guest on several major television outlets, including CNN, Fox TV, and Al Jazeera English TV. He has lectured extensively at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and at various other law enforcement academies, major universities, and at the National Strategy Information Center in Washington, D.C. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Garo Ghazarian.
Thank you, Arev. I can say that two of the associations that I'm most proud of that are not listed in any biography of mine are my association as a Boy Scout with Hominid Men in Beirut and as an AYF member in Burj-Hamid, Lebanon. Honored guests, distinguished members of our community, and Reverend Fathers, good evening. I will address my remarks in the initial few moments in Armenian and return to English and conclude in Armenian. Հայոց ցեղասպանության 100-ամյակի շեմին յուրաքանչյուր հայ ունի 3 հրամայականներ։ Առաջին հիշել մեր անցյալը, երկրորդ ամրապնդել մեր ներկան եւ երրորդ պահանջել մեր ավական։ Երբ կխոսենք 1.5 միլիոն նահատակներու մասին, երբ կխոսենք 5 միլիոն տեղահանված հայերու մասին, հարկավոր է ընտրնել իմաստը։ Իմաստը մեր ազգի 60%-ի բնաճնճմանը եւ իմաստը ավելյալ 20%-ի արմատախմբմանը։ Մենք լավ գիտենք, որ մեր բոլորի մեծ հայրերու եւ մայրերու հոգեբանությունը պատվաստված էր ցեղասպանության ահռելի ուշերով եւ հայապահպանման հզոր մղումով։ Միաժամանակ իրենց ավական կաշկանդված էր անցյալի աղետյան աղետատեսություններով։ Այսօր մենք շղթայարձերծվելու համար մեր անցյալի սև հրեշներեն, թալաթեն, ջեմալեն եւ էնդերեն, մեր առաքելությունը ի դարբերակ մեր ծնողներեն եւ իրենց ծնողներեն մտքի ողջակիզություն մտչե ցեղասպանությանի բրբդուկ եւ հետևանք։ Ոչ, 1000 ոչ և 1.5 միլիոն ոչ։ Այսօր ցեղասպանությունը մեր համամասնության յուրահատուկ ուժն է։ Ավելի քան խորհրդանշական, անիգա պետք է ընլա գործնական միասնականության անմերժելի գործը մեր բոլորին։ Նամանավանդ սպյուրքի մեջ անիգա պետք է ամրապնդվի օրե-օր, որպես անգործանելի գամուրջ սպյուրքեն Հայաստան ու Արցախ։ Ցեղասպանությունը մեր գամուրջն է, նահատակներու հետ միացման և մեր նախահայրերու հետ հաղորդակցման։ Անհրաժեշտ կամուրջը մեր անցյալի և ապագայի միջև, մեր ծնողներու և զավակներու միջև։ Իսկ այս օրերուն այդ կամուրջը մեր սրտերը կմիացնե մեր հայրենակիցներուն ջավախի, հալելի և քեսավի մեջ։ Ուրեմն, երբ կհիշենք այլ դարվա պատուհասը, կտեսնենք մեր ազգի ողբերգությունը միջազգային մամլո մեջ նկարագրված տարիներ շարունակ, ոչ թե որպես զուգադիպություններ, այլ արձանագրություններ ավազահատիկներու նման բազմաթիվ։ Եվ այդ ավազի հատիկները միասնապար կնկարագրեն հայոց ցեղասպանության անապատը։ Այդ անապատի մեջ է, որ ես կտեսնեմ հայ քահանան, ձունգի եկած, աղոտքի մեջ, երբ թուրք զինվորը գացինահար ընելով կփորձե լրացնել հայի ցայնը գլխադանքով։ Անհաջողելի արարք, որովհետև այսօր ես կլսեմ հայ եկեղեցվո քաղցր շարականները, ես կլսեմ հայ քահանայի ոգևորիչ քարոզը։ Թուրքը բարգված է։ Every time I reflect on the Armenian genocide, I feel the scorching sun of the Syrian desert. I hear the sounds of the waters of the Euphrates River as it swallows mothers and daughters, jumping hand in hand, choosing death before dishonor. Yet now, not all had such a choice. Some were condemned to rape and mutilation, slavery and Turkification. Others, unwitting witnesses to killing fields. I remember my grandmother Zalui. She was 4 years old in 1915 when she witnessed the killing of her father and her 4 uncles. On the other side of the mountain, in another village, my grandmother Anna, 2 years old in 1915, orphaned. Never to hold the hands of her parents again, never to utter the words Heilig or Meirig again. I remember all of this because, like you, I have shared in the life of my grandparents. I remember because, like you, I have witnessed through their eyes the brutality of Turk against Armenian. We all have. I also vividly remember my first visit to an Armenian genocide monument with my grandfather, Ghazarian. It was 50 years ago. He was just 10 years old in 1915. Later, he was known as Khumbabek. Over the years, I have come to grasp his passion, his fury, and his resolve. I understand why after every visit to the genocide monument, we would come home and he would always ask, Ure Garos. As soon as I would say, Hosem, he would hold my hand and ask me, Madrastes. And we'd begin in unison. Mashak Panbur, Renchte Rachber, Arik, Mianang, Arach Kanang, Ashkadanki, Tadi Bashpan, and soon, others in my family would join, but none more emotional than my mother, who had learned the song from her late father, the grandfather I never met, Abraham Poladian, a freedom fighter who had returned from the US by enlisting in the French Legion to defend his homeland. Those are my memories of the 1960s and the 70s. In the 80s, I lost my grandfather from Pavet. In the 90s, I lost my grandmother Zagli. And finally, a few years later, I lost my family's last surviving member of the Armenian genocide. I lost Anna Ghazarian. My inheritance from each of my grandparents is no different than your inheritance from yours. To live and to die as an Armenian. That is why, even though 100 years have passed, on April 25, 2015, the day after our centennial, we continue our quest for justice and our vow to live and die as Armenians. Ladies and gentlemen, April 25 is our morning after. It is the dawn of our next centennial. And on the morning after, the three commandments for every Armenian are more than mandates. They are the three components of every Armenian's DNA. Continue to remember, to rebuild, and to restore. To rebuild, we must choose empowerment as our vehicle of restoration. We must remind ourselves that while the Americas were discovered 500 years ago, we Armenians go back 5,000 years. So being faithful to our history is fundamental to trailblazing forward. Yes, we were bent 100 years ago, but we were not broken. Traumatized, but not broken. It is up to us to decide our destiny and salvation. With tireless efforts, we can strengthen our communities and empower our homeland. Today, Turkey is brazenly forging and trying to rewrite world history. Hrant Dink's murder has gone unpunished. The axe murderer of the Armenian officer in Hungary has gone unpunished. Worse, the murderer made a hero. Having thus far escaped condemnation for perpetrating the Armenian genocide, Turkey continues its contemptible politicization of historical facts. Why? Because Turkey seeks to avoid not only recognition, but more importantly, reparations and restitution for the Armenian genocide. And yes, in case anyone is wondering, we do want our lands back. We have been saying it for decades. Mer Hogera, Mer Hogera. Starting from our churches to our fields and our mountains, we demand their return. And yes, we demand more. We demand justice for the millions of unborn Armenian children, the suffering of hundreds of thousands of orphans, for the Armenian mothers and daughters, pain and violations, for their forced Turkification, and for the lives cut short by executioners of injustice. The genocide of our people is a crime requiring justice. It is not a conflict in need of mediation. I challenge Turkey to explain what happened to the 2.5 million Armenians of Western Armenia. Where did they disappear? Why are the sands of the Syrian desert covered with our ancestors' unburied bones to this day? Why is it that wherever I go around the globe, I encounter Armenians, all with Western Armenian roots, yet none in Western Armenia? Why were so many orphanages filled with Armenian children all those years? Why did France, Great Britain, and Russia declare at the time that what the Ottoman Turks were doing to the Armenians was a crime against humanity and civilization? And why did the Turkish military tribunal in 1921 condemn to death the three monsters of the Young Turks movement, Talat, Enver, and Cemal? We are people who have defied and defeated death. We are strong 100 years later, and strong in 100 countries and more. That is why we raise our children to forge a path of justice by forging unity of diaspora and homeland. That is our last will and testament to our children. As for peace with Turkey, there can never be peace without justice. Today, as a direct result of the perpetuation of Turkey's denialist policy, Armenia is blockaded by a closed border, and Artsakh is a war zone due to the same policy from a century ago. A pan-Turkic policy, as Turkey teaming up with Azerbaijan, shows the world that in 100 years, much has changed, yet nothing has changed. That is why, even though our wounds are 100 years old, they are still open and fresh today. That is why we cannot and do not sit idly when a former congressman sells his dignity for $1 and goes from a staunch supporter of recognition of the Armenian genocide to a lobbyist shamelessly promoting its denial. That is why we act when a municipality misguidedly thinks that a statue of Ataturk is a worthy venture. Last Sunday, I witnessed Armenian students and athletes in a high school football field nearby. A few days ago, Armenian students gathered at the Montevideo Armenian Genocide Monument. This evening, we are gathered here with the centennial just weeks away. Every one of these assemblies is proof that Turkey failed. Yes, we have buried most of the survivors of the Armenian genocide, just about all of them. But one thing which we have not and will not be burying is our cause. It does not have a gravestone, nor does it have a gravesite. What it does have are 1.5 million ghosts walking the earth in the form of 10 million Armenian lives. Therefore, the fate of our dead is in our hands. Only we can bring those martyred souls back to life. If we do not, we will die with them. We cannot change history to make it more comfortable for ourselves or for the faint at heart who label genocide as a mere tragedy. But we can fight for history denied and for genocide denied. We can fight for justice. And that is exactly what we will do for the next 100 years, as we have for the last 100 years. As our two pontiffs prepare to canonize the 1.5 million martyrs of our genocide next month, I am reminded of the sacrifices of our heroes. Yes, our heroes, our freedom fighters. Those heroes who subscribe to the principle of Mah Imatsial Amahutune. And the heroes of today. The heroes of today who are sacrificing their lives for Artsakh. We can all follow in their example. We can follow in their example by choosing to live a life best described as Gyank Imatsial Amahutune. So let us teach our children and our children's children what we were taught by our parents and grandparents, so that 100 years from now, our great-grandchildren do not have to ask, where do I come from? And what does it mean to be an Armenian? Սիրելիներ, Թուրքը ցախողած է, հաղթահարելու համար Թուրքին և բոլոր հակահայ ալիքներուն հավերժորեն, այո, հավերժորեն, ճիշտ է, պետք է հիշենք մեր անցյալը, բայց չմոռնանք դեր կանգնելու մեր ներկային, որովհետև մեր սեփական ներկան բարելավելու ցկտումը ամենեն բարձր հարկանքն է մեր անցյալի նկատմամբ։ Անցյալը հարգելով, ներկան ամրապնդելով, մենք կհաջողենք պահանջել մեր հավաքան։ Ուրեմն, շարունակենք պայքարը, հիշելով և ապրելով Սիամանտոյի խոսքը։ Ապ մը մոխիր, աջունիս հետ, այրենիրում, ապ մը մոխիր կու մոխիր հետ, ով պիտի բերել, կու հիշատակետ, կու ծավետ, կու անցյալետ, ապ մը մոխիր, իմ սրտիս վրան ծանելու։ Շնորհակալ։